In this video, we will be adding fractions with unlike denominators and showing equivalent fractions. So today's 5th grade word problem is, on Thanksgiving Day, Stephen ate 1/4 of an apple pie for lunch and 1/2 of that pie later for dinner. How much pie did Stephen eat that day? So to begin this problem, let us create a concrete model using an online application. We will start with the whole. I'm going to go down here. This is going to be my whole. And I will also break this into 4 pieces. So let me grab another one. I'm going to put it underneath here, break it into 4 pieces. And so just so we can get a better visual, I'm going to color it in. This is my whole. You see it turned into 1. And then I'm going to shade in our 1/4 of a piece that Stephen ate for lunch. So this is our apple pie right here that Stephen ate for lunch. Okay, so now let's build the half that Stephen eats later for dinner. So again, I'm going to start with my whole right here, and then I'm going to grab another one, but this time we're going to cut it into 2 parts so we can make half. And what we're going to do is, just like the last one again, I'm going to fill it in with the color, that way we can have a better visual. So here goes our 1 whole, and then our 1/2 that Stephen ate later for dinner. So the question is asking us to find how much pie Stephen ate that day. So I'm going to go back down here. So we know that he ate 1/4. So I'm going to break this up into 4 pieces. And he ate 1/2 later. So he ate 1/4 for lunch and 1/2 later. So here goes my 2 pieces. I'm going to color them in and put this back. I'm going to put them on top of each other. That way we can kind of see how we can compare these 2 fractions. And I can actually see right here in this section that to help us add and look for equivalent fraction, I can tell that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. So I'm going to build another model right here next to it. I'm going to have this one halves. I'm going to bring this one over here, and I'm going to build this as, I'm going to break it up into 4 pieces, but this time I will shade in 2/4 instead of 1/4. So here goes my half. So this was my 4th right here. And I realized from this model that, hey, if I fill this in, it actually is 2/4. So 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. And now we can set up our problem. So now as we set up our problem, we see that, we simplified 1/2 and we broke it up into 2/4. And we can set up our problem like this. So I'm going to move this down here. So 2/4 plus 1/4 and then equals 2. So it's going to equal to 3/4. So here goes again. I chunked it into 4 pieces. I'm going to fill it in. Probably use a different color. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. And we did this because we know it's 3/4 because now that we have the same denominator for both fractions here, we can we simplified and counted. So this is going to be 1/4, 2/4, and then adding up this one, this would be 3/4. So Stephen ate 3/4 of that apple pie that day. Okay, so next we're going to show you the pictorial model of the same question. So to repeat the question, on Thanksgiving Day, Stephen ate 1/4 of an apple pie for lunch and 1/2 of that pie later for dinner. How much pie does Stephen eat that day? So just like our concrete, except we're going to draw it out this time, I'm going to draw out my one whole right here. I'm going to drag my 1 here so we know that's 1 whole. Underneath it, going to do the same again, but I'm going to cut it up to, well, I'm going to divide them into 4 pieces. I cut them up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. And I'm going to place my 1/4 here. This is going to be shaded in. So just so I can have it underneath here as a better visual. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. This is my shaded 1/4 of the pie that Stephen ate that for lunch. And actually, I'll move my 1/4 right here next to this that way, because this is our 1/4. This is just 4 pieces divided. That way you can have a better visual for our whole. So next, we're going to do the same for 1/2. So here goes my whole. And then I'm going to place my 1/2 under here. There it is. Shade this in as much as you can. It's good enough. And this represents my 1/2. This represents my 1/2. So this is the 1/2 that Stephen ate later for dinner. So now we can actually break our 1/2 into fourths. So I have it here. I'm going to break this into 1/2. This is going to be my 1/2. And then I'm going to break the one underneath here, my whole underneath here, into 4 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And actually I'm going to bring over some of our fractions here. That way we can see. And from our concrete model, we know that 1/2 is the same, or is equivalent to 2/4. So I'm going to bring this here. So we have our 1/4, 2/4, and we're going to stop there. Because we know this from our concrete, we know that we get to add, well, now we just simply add them together to make 3/4. So again, I'm going to break this up into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to add like our sign right here. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll make an equal sign. And let's just fill in our fractions here. So we have 1/4 here, 2/4, which is right here, comes from that, because equivalent fractions. And then we have, again, our 1/4. So when we add them together, it makes 3/4. So I'm going to break this into 3 pieces again. So 1/4, 2/4, and it's quickly created 3/4. So 3/4. Okay, so for our last one, we're going to use an abstract model. So we're going to use the algorithm to solve the problem one final time. And just as a reminder to our problem, it says, on Thanksgiving Day, Stephen ate 1/4 of an apple pie for lunch and 1/2 of that pie for later for dinner. So how much pie did Stephen eat that day? So we have our 1/4 that he ate for lunch, and then our 1/2, the 1/2 that he ate later for dinner that day. So the algorithm is 1/4 plus 1/2. So our first step that we will do is, write out our number sentence. It's already written out here, 1/4 plus 1/2 equals. And then next we will have to find an equivalent denominator. So we can simply turn our 1/2 right here into 2/4 because there are two groups of 1/4 in a half. So this is my 1/2. And we know that the equivalent fraction is 2/4. Oops, there it is. And then to break this down further, we know that 2/4 is also equivalent to 1/4 plus 1/4, and then 1/4 plus 1/4 is equivalent to 1/2. So now we get to write out our new equation. So 2/4 plus 1/2, make this bigger. And from the previous models, we know that it is 3/4. And that is our answer. Stephen ate 3/4 of a pie in that day.